Living in the Past is a Turtle, Mysteries of Azeroth, and Everlook Broadcasting production. This is Living in the Past, your Everlook Broadcasting Company weekly show about all things Turtle, Mysteries of Azeroth. Today is Friday, January 26, 2024, and I'm Dan, your host for the next hour. We have a jam-packed show here today, and we're getting a little weird and wild with this one. Our first segment is going to be a little bit more serious. We're going to be talking about some security concerns. There was a big data breach that was discovered earlier this week, so we're going to cover that just a little bit. But otherwise, our second segment, we're actually going to be talking about City of Heroes really quick. There was some really great news for City of Heroes fans earlier this month, and I want to give some credit where credit is due and talk a little bit about hopping over on that server real quick and experiencing what Homecoming has going on. So that'll be our second segment. And then in our final segment, we're going to be doing what's called a special commentary. Acalix decided to tweet earlier this week. I know, shocker, Acalix tweeted. My God. We're going to be talking about the skeleton. You'll find out what I mean. Special commentary on that for our final segment. Like I said, we're getting a little silly on this episode of Living in the Past. And then the music for today, we are continuing our theme, music in the key of meme. This is week 2 of it, and we're going to be doing a little bit of a deeper dive into some older tracks, things that have entered the group human consciousness, let's say, but songs that are a little bit older. So this is the stuff you may not have heard of or may not remember segment for this version of Music in the Key of Meme. Next week we're going to be unleashing the truly destructive forces of the memeiest of meme songs. These ones are going to get a little extra. So this week, we're keeping it a little on the calmer side. I shouldn't say calm. These are still fantastic, fantastic tracks. But needless to say, they are, some of you are going to scratch your head and be like, what is this music? So this week, be ready for that. Next week, be ready for the almost like painful earworms when it comes to these songs. They're the ones that are built and designed to be memes. So that's what's coming up over the next couple weeks for music. And I'm so excited. Some of these songs are like personal favorites of mine. I am a little old when it comes to my musical tastes. So for this one, this is definitely dipping more into what I listen to regularly. So be prepared for that. Now, with that being said, let's get into our first segment here because I want to make sure we are getting through things in a timely manner. There was a security breach when it comes to personal data. And I'm getting this from PCGamer.com. This was posted about a day ago. There was about a 12 terabyte cache of data that was discovered by Cyber News. Well, the team over at Cyber News analyzed, rather. I don't know if they actually discovered it. But what happened was this cache of data was chock full of some more menial, I'm going to say menial things because honestly, some data is going to naturally leak out just because it exists. However, also in that cache of data was a lot of like personal user data. So general usernames and passwords that have been scraped from the internet by bots or by tracking software of some kind. And it all kind of accumulated at this one point that was found. Now, there was an announcement put out by Turtle on this, and this is kind of how I found out about this, and thank goodness for it. But Accolix posted up yesterday evening that Turtle was not involved in this leak at all. There was no Turtle data in this breach, which is fantastic. Apparently, according to his post, about 26 billion login details across all platforms of the internet. This isn't specific to World of Warcraft or any game or any single website, by the way. 26 billion login details across all platforms. So keep that in mind. Turtle data was not breached on this. Again, your data here on Turtle was not part of this breach at all. However, it is so important because many of us, and I'm unfortunately one of those people that does this, many of us use the same login information across multiple platforms. Some of us have, unfortunately, not the best brains, I'll say, and we have a tough time remembering a lot of different usernames and logins. So we reuse them. It's common. A lot of us do it. However, and I've said however about 17 billion times in this segment here already, so I'm going to try not to do that again. This is a good opportunity to go through, update your passwords, update, if you can, user login information in general, update your recovery information. Google is great about this. A lot of websites are great about this, but you have between two-factor authentication and recovery information, great ways for you to, in case there is some kind of nefarious activity, recover your account. Update that stuff. Make sure it's accurate. Make sure you can actively recover your accounts should the worst possibly happen. This is the greatest time to do so. In his post on Discord, Accolix does go through how you can update your password on Turtle. And there's two ways to go about it. You can go to the account management panel on the Turtle website, or you can use an in-game command. I'm not going to go through and speak out the in-game command because it's going to be much easier for you to go to Discord and copy-paste that. So please update your usernames, login information, update everything you possibly can to make sure it is as accurate as possible. Make sure your passwords are new and secure. There's never a bad time to change or update your password on something. Otherwise, again, thank you to Accolix for bringing this to our attention. If you do feel that perhaps something nefarious is going on with your account or you have a concern in some way, I will also direct you to the support channel over in the Discord under general discussion. If you feel something is going on, ask for help. It's totally okay. Please, it is so important you ask for help or let at least the support staff know, hey, I'm concerned that something is going on with my account. And they can help from there. So please, make sure you pay attention to this stuff. Update your information. Update your login credentials and details. And if you do suspect something's going on, let the staff here know. Again, thank you to Accolix for the information on that. And hopefully you all haven't minded me going on and on about taking care of your stuff. I tend to do that in my friends groups. I don't do it on purpose. That's just who I am. With that being said, though, in our second day of music here in the Key of Memes, we're diving back in time a little more than usual and checking out music that saw a resurgence or came out of the 70s and 80s in some way. I focused on titles that people may not have heard the originals of or may have never heard at all for both our breaks today. For our first break, we're sticking to more conventional waters. And I'm very confident in saying if you haven't heard the originals of these, you absolutely have heard of the many, many covers of these songs, or even heard these songs out at a bar or at a karaoke spot. Our first track is Take On Me by Aha, one of the few one-hit wonders we're featuring as part of the Music in the Key of Meme, and possibly one of the most well-remembered and parodied music videos of all time. Our second and third tracks in this break are Africa by Toto, as well as Don't Stop Believing by Journey. Not intensely memey or ridiculous in nature, but these songs have had their life extended over and over again by covers and remasters, with groups like Weezer, Real Big Fish, Weird Al, Postmodern Jukebox, and Panic at the Disco having covered one or both of these songs. They're a pair of timeless classics that everyone can't stop themselves from singing. Our final song of the break, and yes, I know I'm going longer than normal with this break, I promise I won't make a habit of it, is one that has become a meme because of us Americans' incessant obsession with literally anyone with an Australian accent. I Come From a Land Down Under by Men at Work was one of their few big hits as a band. Originally a B-side, when they released it as an official track, it quite literally took the world by storm, receiving awards from nearly every musically inclined country on the planet. It received multiple awards for being one of the most Australian songs ever. I didn't know that was even a possible award, but it is. The band played it live at the 2000 Sydney Summer Olympics and was a goal song for the Australian football team at the 2022 FIFA World Cup. Our second segment is coming up right after our first break here. The musical tracks for this episode have been removed due to YouTube copyright. To listen to the full episodes with music, tune in to Everlook Broadcasting every Friday with the in-game radio widget. Thank you for sticking with us through that slightly longer than usual musical break. I try to keep it to 3 tracks at the most for each musical break, but honestly, there was so much I wanted to fit into this episode musically, I had to make one of the breaks a little bit longer. So thank you for bearing with me. I hope you enjoyed the tracks. We're back in it here on Living in the Past with myself, Dan. It's good to have you here. Before we get into the conversation on City of Heroes Homecoming, which has been such an exciting project to discover more about, there is something I wanted to kind of throw everyone's way here. We're having a little conversation behind the scenes in our private communications channels with the radio staff and some of the Turtle staff about a potential general Team Turtle podcast. This is just a side conversation that started up as of earlier today. Gor and Volka were talking about it super briefly. I wanted to throw the idea out there to all of you. If you're listening to this, I would love to know your feedback, and you can just at me, at Dan, in the official Discord for Turtle. Would you like to hear an official Team Turtle or Turtle staff podcast, whether it's weekly or monthly, whenever the staff has time to do something like that? Obviously, their time is precious, and their focus is 100% on the actual development of the server and of new content for us. However, if we can make that happen, even just once a month, is that something that you would be interested in hearing? And I am very curious to know your response on that. And then B, would you want either to submit questions for it as a community or suggest discussion topics? Because if that is the case, certainly we can come up with a good way to actually make that happen. Again, I'm very curious to hear what your thoughts are. So feel free to @ me in the Discord or to directly DM me. I'm right under the Everlook Broadcasting Company Discord listing on the right. And I don't mind you sliding into my DMs on this. With that being said, though, I wanted to take a few minutes here during our second segment to talk about City of Heroes Homecoming. Now, for those that don't know what Homecoming is, City of Heroes was an MMO that happened in the very, very, very early 2000s. This was a little bit before World of Warcraft happened. City of Heroes and Earth and Beyond were actually my first MMOs ever. And unfortunately, after a while, City of Heroes did get shut down. It was long after I stopped playing. I started like right at the beginning of it, where this was like before City of Villains happened, and before a lot of the more extra stuff came about for the game. So I was very much, it was only City of Heroes, and there was only a lot of the basic roles and ability pools in it. And I loved it. I really did love it. With that being said, it did get shut down eventually. Now, this group decided to put together a private server called Homecoming. And from my understanding, I just found out about this, like, I believe back in October of 2023, maybe earlier. But when it started about 5 years ago, it was rough. It was apparently very, very rough. And that's fine. That's totally legit. These kinds of projects, especially when they're just starting up, they can be rough. There are many, like, just staying in our kind of field, there are many World of Warcraft private servers that have started up where it's been a creative endeavor to see what's possible versus trying to create the most stable experience ever. Certainly, those efforts are very legitimate. They're explorative. They're trying to define what the engine is capable of doing when pushed to its limits. And those are always fun to see. Even if the server has maybe 10 people on it, seeing how someone interprets these new systems that they're trying to put in place or exploring a certain direction of development, you always love to see it. That's fun. That's so much fun. So Homecoming started out pretty rough, apparently, and over the course of these last 5 years have built it up to the point where it has become a very solid, stable community. It has become the place where you can relive all of this City of Heroes and City of Villains content. And they have added to it. They have cleaned up a lot of the rougher edges of it. That even existed at the point of the official servers being shut down. Now, the reason I bring this up, not just to send out a congratulations to the Homecoming team for their exceptional work, but also to highlight what the actual company that owned City of Heroes and City of Villains did. And what that is give them an official license. That's right. This is, I believe, the second game in history to literally be resurrected from the dead by a fan group and receive official recognition from the company. I believe the first was Toontown, and those private servers. Those were officially recognized. It might have been about a year and a half ago. I don't remember exactly when that happened. But anywho, this is a recognition of what a group like Homecoming, like Turtle, like these other major private server groups can do when, instead of the company of ownership fighting them or trying to shut them down, they recognize and respect the effort that's happening, that what's going on. and they choose to work with them and support them. From my understanding, we don't know if money exchanged hands for that license. We don't know if Homecoming had to shell out money for that. I believe the assumption is they might have had to, or they're going to be charged a license fee in some way. But that's much more preferable to just trying to be crushed, for lack of a better term, by the parent company. This has created so much goodwill throughout the City of Heroes community. And seeing so many people come back to it, play it, experience it again, or for many people experience it for the first time, there really is a magic to it. And again, it really goes to show how important it is for a company, instead of trying to fight their own community, work with them, appreciate them, respect that they do want to stick around, that they do want to participate, and find that common ground of, okay, how do we continue to support that? So again, congratulations to the Homecoming team and staff over there, what they've done, and how incredible it is to see this at this point, very well done recreation of City of Heroes and City of Villains. And it is all there. I have a scrapper that I rolled up just to really experiment and get back into it. Then I have a mastermind that I've been playing with the zombie darkness sets. And then I have a blaster that's using the new laser rifle. And it's been just a joy to get back in, to try out these things, see how the Homecoming team has smoothed things out. It is free, by the way. Just like Turtle here, Homecoming is free. So get in there, try it out. It is a real delight. And being able to divvy my time up between getting raids in here on Turtle with my team and spending a little off time in Heroes has been just a wonderful change of pace. Getting to do both has been a real joy. So again, congratulations to the Homecoming team. Stellar work. We do appreciate it. We do love to see it. With that being said, for our second segment here, we're squarely up in the 80s with all three songs for our second break. Our first track, Jump in the Line by Harry Belafonte, along with another song, Deo, which I'm not going to play here, had their own releases in the mid-1900s and performed well. However, were both brought back to the forefront of pop culture in the 80s with the movie Beetlejuice. Our second track for our second break is one I talked about briefly last week during our second segment, and I'm glad I could fit it in here. We Didn't Start the Fire was one of Billy Joel's later tracks, but garnered an immense level of popularity, not just initially, but to this day. It's a time capsule of so much the American populace had to endure from the 50s all the way to the mid-80s, and made a serious effort to recognize that we had been permanently changed by all this that happened. The purpose of the song was so impactful that last year, Fall Out Boy did a recreation of the song, but with mostly new lyrics, highlighting everything that had impacted the world, starting in the very early 90s, and absolutely deserves every ounce of praise it's received. For our final track of this break, I have one question for you. Do you like Huey Lewis and the News? Their earlier work was a little too new wave for my taste, but when Sports came out in '83, I think they really came into their own, both commercially and artistically. The whole album has a clear, crisp sound, and a new sheen of consummate professionalism that gives the songs a big boost. He's been compared to Elvis Costello, but I think Huey has a far more bitter, cynical sense of humor. In '87, Huey released this, for their most accomplished album. I think their undisputed masterpiece is Hip to Be a Square, a song so catchy, Most people probably don't listen to the lyrics, but they should, because it's not just about the pleasure of conformity and the importance of trends, it's also a personal statement about the band itself. The musical tracks for this episode have been removed due to YouTube copyright. To listen to the full episodes with music, tune in to Everlook Broadcasting every Friday with the in-game radio widget. For those that didn't pick up on it going into that last break, that was a that was a whole joke from a movie called American Psycho. And it's this giant paragraph that the main character goes on and on and on about to distract this dude before he lodges an axe into him. I'm not sure I would encourage everyone to watch American Psycho. I think the movie is fascinating, but also mildly horrifying at the same time. I do like it. So that was the meme. The reason that Huey Lewis and the News Hip to Be a Square is a meme in this case, because it received just this entire strange series of events, specifically with the soundtrack for American Psycho because of all this. Look it up at your own peril, I'll say. With that being said, for our final segment tonight here on Living in the Past, for the first time, a special comment on the skeleton. What skeleton, you ask? That's the question everyone should be asking. It's the question we need to answer. For those who weren't aware of it, this week, the Turtle Wow team tweeted out an image of a singular skeleton huddled in a small glade dripping with dank and haunted vibes. It was accompanied by the text, "Coming soon to a Turtle Wow patch near you," and closed with the question, "Some bones?" Some bones. You can say that again. But where are the bones? If we take a look at the screenshot in question, and I think we all should, we see many things. There's a shield next to the skeleton, no less, which I do believe is the skeleton's property. A sword that has drifted off its main right hand onto the grass near it. Is that the skeleton sword? Is that the sword someone used to make the skeleton into a skeleton? And then off in the distance, we have heaps, loads, if you will, of spider webs. Did the spiders make the skeleton into a skeleton? Are the spiders responsible for the webs in the first place? Are the spiders responsible for the screenshot that Turtle decided was most appropriate to share on social media? These are the important questions. These are the things we must understand about the skeleton. And we ask, of course, who made the skeleton into a skeleton? But let's shorten that question up slightly. Let's squeeze the importance from that question and just ask, who are the bones? They certainly look like human bones at first. Is this a human area? Is this a human part of the world in some way? Is this a secret Terrorist Fall glade, if you will, that is secret from the public not secret Terrorist Fall glade? It looks a little bright for that. And I think we can all say that the dankest and darkest of forests are most likely Terrorist Fall glade. So maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe this is a secret alcove somewhere up in the hills. It certainly doesn't look like a human nation, though, however, in that case. Arathi Highlands? Not at all. The sun shines bright there. Hillsbrad? Alterac? Absolutely not. There's not a lick of snow anywhere. Duskwood, perhaps? It does look Duskwoody. That would not only fit the question of where, but who. Some random human that found his or her way to a doom that was so unintended for him or her. But what if it's not human? What if this skeleton is an elf? What if this is a very tall dwarf? What if this is a very, 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 very tall gnome? It's a very tall gnome. But we've seen weirder in the world of Warcraft. This then leads into the question, though, not just where, but who, but why are the bones? Do we know why the bones are bones in the first place? Was it the spiders that made the bones into bones? Was it some secret assassin that left the bones here after making the not-so-bones into bones? A singular skeleton as a warning or reminder of evil deeds to come. Certainly, one could speculate on this. But either way, we know for a fact that the skeleton is being used to taunt us. Not by any secret would-be assassin or spiders, but by Accolix. Clearly, it was Accolix who posted this up. We're at least 73% sure. Maybe 74%. If we want to take into consideration how often Accolix may tweet, he could be taunting us. He most likely is taunting us. And he should take responsibility for taunting us as such. We'll see. We'll hope that he decides to do so. But moreover, we will hope and we will feel the most empathy possible for the skeleton and the struggles that they are now being forced to endure for being a tool for the Turtle Twitter team. And I cannot tell you how difficult it was to say Turtle Twitter team without... Oh, I almost screwed it up there. Without tripping over my tongue in some way. That's way too much T's in a single sentence. That's far too many. No matter what happens, skeleton, you bag of bones, we wish you the best. And hope that your future endeavors are easy to endure. With that being said, thank you for taking the time to join me today. Our nostalgia continues even though today's broadcast is at an end. And I hope you enjoyed the show here today. A huge thank you to the Turtle developers, moderators, staff, and volunteers. Without the entire team's hard work and dedication, we wouldn't have this station or server group. An additional thank you to the audio engineers and creators here for the use of their soundtracks that they've created, which we use for segment transitions and intro audio. If you'd like to find out more about what I do, I invite you to check out my YouTube channel at youtube.com/@thedannation. And I did actually post up a video, finally. I'm very proud of myself for this. And my series, Ancient Lore, a recapture of the spirit of my original podcast, The Ancient of Lore. Until next Friday, let's keep living in the past.